Beautiful Monday morning. Excited to start the day. Let's see what Hearthstone World's been up to this weekend. Huh? Huh? Yeah. So this is a video. It's a video about Hearthstone's progression system. Which, if you haven't heard, you missed it. I probably already showed you some snippets there, but a lot of people not super happy about Hearthstone's progression system, to say the very least. So, wanted to give a voice to some of those comments and maybe some positive ones too that have gotten a little bit less of a voice, but really just going to try to do my best to show you guys what you are saying and interpret that a little bit as best I can, but start out pretty objectively just showcasing what people are saying, and then you can probably skip to the interview. I'll give my pretty short and simple take on all of this. I'll try to use the little timestamps down there if you want to go ahead and skip to what I have to say, but nobody really cares what I have to say. So, that said, I think I'm just going to pull up like a Twitter feed. I asked you guys over the last 24 hours to share all your thoughts. I wanted to give everybody a chance to showcase what they're thinking, and then I'd have better information about what to say in this video. There were a bajillion responses, so much so that Twitter was like, hey, dude, you're getting a lot of action this week. That's cool. But it's hard to read all of them, but I did make it through everything. And now I think I'm somewhat better equipped to talk about it, although probably still grossly unprepared. So anyway, instead of like pulling out one or two comments, I'm just going to scroll everybody's comments over there and let you guys read it for yourself. There may be some curse words and stuff, so if you don't want to see that, maybe time to hop on out of this video and find one of the 47 others talking about the same topic. So for this video, I'm really just gonna try to group up your complaints into a few prominent themes, and then also do the same for some of the positives. I don't think there's quite as many, but try to focus on some of the good stuff and maybe build off that for the future as well. I'm gonna try to keep it fairly objective, just kind of read and report what you guys are saying, and then comment later on in the video. But to set the context, if you don't know what the heck's going on, Hearthstone introduced a new progression system. It's kind of a battle pass style with levels and rewards per level. There's like an XP system now instead of purely just having gold. So you have to earn XP to earn gold and other rewards. The primary complaints are around the fact that it feels like the rewards are perhaps not as significant as they were in the past. There's some confusing elements to the battle pass. It feels like some of the progression's obfuscated a little bit. And all of that has kind of come up to a boiling point that said, hey, we thought this was going to make the game better. And it doesn't really feel to most people like the game is better from the progression system right now. So let's go ahead and break this down into its key components, the downsides of the progression system as suggested by you guys. Number one is that most people feel like they're getting less gold out of the current progression system as compared to the previous one. So in the past, you would get gold a couple ways via your daily quests, and then also every time you win 3 games in Constructed Hearthstone, you would get 10 gold, up to 100 gold per day. And I'm not going to get too lost in the math here, but essentially there have been like 27,000 Reddit threads where people break down the various math and the expected XP gain rates in the new system and compare the two. And it looks like for people who are particularly dedicated players and maybe even good players who win a lot and won quickly in the past, they're going to get substantially less gold in the new system. It does seem like if you're very casual and don't play the game all that often, you might get a little more rewards, but it seems like based on the math I've seen, pretty quickly it scales to where most people's rewards are going to be at least a little bit less than they would have been in the past, strictly speaking, for gold. And of course, the natural complaint there is that people already think Hearthstone is too expensive, and this essentially makes it more expensive, particularly alienating free-to-play players who are super reliant on those gold totals to make any sort of collection progress. Complaint number 2, as I would put it, is that the rewards in the new system lack the flexibility of gold, and in fact, in some cases, maybe just are kind of bad rewards. So gold in Hearthstone is really the currency that has the most flexibility. You can use it on buying packs if you want. You can use it to buy arena runs, etc. So it's kind of the ultimate currency, right? It's the one you want the most because you can turn it into dust. You can turn it into experiences like arena. So it's better, and you can buy packs anytime you want. Like, you can store it up and wait for the next expansion. You can spend it now. It has just the ultimate flexibility as the top level currency in Hearthstone. So what the battle pass has done is, instead of getting gold for every level or step of the battle pass, or not just the battle pass, the progression system, these terms are all getting a little confused in my brain at this stage, but in each step of the new progression system, whatever it's officially called, I don't actually even know, the rewards track is the name of it. In every step of the rewards track, it's not gold. Sometimes you get packs, and sometimes they're packs from the previous expansion, the upcoming expansion perhaps, but there are also packs from Year of the Dragon packs, and they're like super far into the rewards track. So like level 48 of the total 50 levels in the rewards track includes a Year of the Dragon pack. And a Year of the Dragon pack only has 4 months before it rotates out of standard format, assuming the rules remain the same. And as far as we know, the rules are going to remain the same, so we have every reason to be disappointed in said pack. So instead of getting, like, some gold, you're going to get some cards that are basically only good for a very short margin of time or amount of time, and then they're going to turn into dust, and the dust will certainly be less efficient than the gold. And frankly, even just a normal pack is less good than gold, because it may be cards you don't want or need specifically. You want to buy from this specific expansion, you want to save for the future, you want to spend that gold on an arena run, etc., etc. So essentially, packs lacking flexibility and rewards lacking flexibility feels bad to people. If those were just a bonus and you were still getting the same amount of gold, then perhaps that'd be fine. It'd just be a free bonus. It'd be great. You'd feel good about it. But if that is taking the place of gold and you're earning less gold than you would have in the past, that feels like a step backward to many people. So the third complaint is that the system feels grindy. And in other words, it's really quick at the start when you're in regards to leveling up and getting your rewards. You're leveling up quickly and getting a ton of packs and stuff early on, but then it falls off pretty quickly, around level 15 to 20. It's starting to take a lot of XP in order to level up, and you're not seeing rewards very often. Like, for some players, it might take a few days to even get the next reward, or maybe even longer than that if you're super casual. But even more dedicated players, it's taking a while to get the next step of the rewards. So it feels like you're playing a lot, but not really achieving much, particularly because in many cases, the XP is hard to sort of see. It's not always clear when you're getting XP and why you're getting XP. So that leads to some confusion, and I guess general bad feelings are being expressed in regards to leveling up, which is, I think, the opposite of what you really want. You want people to feel like, oh yeah, I'm making progress, I'm doing this thing. And I guess sometimes it feels like you're really just stalling out and you're not making much progress, which is going to discourage you from taking additional steps towards playing and completing your battle pass in the future. So yeah, I mean, just looking at the numbers, it's like, 10 times harder to level up, or even more than that, I think, like 20 times harder. Don't trust any of the math in this video. I'm not trying to cite perfect numbers or anything. This is not that kind of thing. Go to a Reddit post or whatever for that. This is more just talking about the higher level notes. But I mean, it's way, way, way harder to level up later on. And like the final few levels are going to be ridiculous. They're just going to take like a week or something to finish. Again, I don't know if that's a real number, but you get the idea. They're going to take a really, really long time to complete. And that's stressful. Like, it just makes it feel like you're spending a lot of time and you're not getting those little tiny incremental reminders that you're making progress. That 10 gold adding up throughout the course of a day is pretty nice, right? It just keeps reminding you, it keeps happening, like, yes, I'm doing something. Here, you may not see any reward for days, weeks, potentially, depending on the player. And that can be pretty stressful. And it already is. People are feeling and reporting that stress this early. And we still have, 3.5+ months to go, 4 months to go in this particular rewards track. And then another big complaint is in regards to the achievement system, that a lot of people get a big number for achievements. Essentially, achievements are added. If you didn't see, they track your progression in various aspects of the game, doing certain things, collection-based things, gameplay-based things, so on and so forth. There are all kinds of different achievements. You get point totals for completing those achievements, and people get these giant numbers, and I guess they want a way to spend the achievement points, or sort of at least redeem them at thresholds. Like if you get 5,000, maybe you get a portrait, or 10,000, you get a portrait, as opposed to just being an intrinsic motivator with achievements. I don't personally resonate very much with this one. I'm totally fine with it just being an intrinsic motivator, a recognition of my progress in Hearthstone, and kind of a way to commemorate certain events and milestones. But that said, a lot of people are feeling that way. So certainly seems like a valid enough complaint to me to talk about. It sometimes does feel bad to see a number and not be able to do anything with that number. So sure, wouldn't mind some milestones for certain achievement hits. That'd be cool to get extra portraits and bonuses. All right, so the next one is sort of less about the system and more about Blizzard's communication regarding the system, I suppose. And that's that a lot of people feel misled and perhaps a bit betrayed that Blizzard was indicating pretty hard that the system was going to be more rewarding for, at the very least, a vast majority of players, and perhaps even suggested all players, outside of just extreme outliers, would be getting additional rewards. And based on the math people are presenting, it seems like that's not true. It seems like a lot of people, at the very least more dedicated players, are not going to be getting as much gold as possible, or not going to be able to bank up as much like future expansion gold for buying packs at the start of the next expansion. Seems like a big concern. So free-to-play players in particular are feeling a little miffed, to say the very least, in regards to being very hopeful about this system and then coming away disappointed. I think really the last thing any of us wanted was to feel disappointed with this awesome new system. I think there are a lot of great things that it introduced, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But everybody, I think, should come away excited with such a big revolutionary change to the progression system in Hearthstone. I don't want anybody to feel disappointed. I want the game to continue to improve and make everybody's experience a more positive one. So that's certainly unfortunate that people kind of had their hopes and dreams dashed a bit based on either communication gaps or a change somewhere along the way. I don't know exactly why the reality appears to be different than the promise. I don't know that we'll ever exactly see behind the scenes or get an explanation on that. But at the end of the day, I think it's pretty simple. We all want to be more excited about the system, and a lot of people aren't as excited about the system, particularly because they had certain things they were aiming towards, and now it feels like they fell pretty significantly short of those goals. So to switch things up a little bit, it would be unfair to not focus on some of the positives of the battle pass or rewards track. I got to learn that phrasing. I call everything the battle pass as well, because although you wouldn't know this from looking at Reddit or perhaps even a lot of YouTube comments or videos, I think there are a fair number of people who don't have complaints. I'm somewhere in the middle. I have a lot of things I like. There's some things that have fallen short for me as well. But a lot of people seem pretty happy, as you probably noticed a few of the Twitter comments. I think there's certainly more people who are dissatisfied than satisfied, at least who are being vocal about it. But more casual players in particular, which honestly for me is a larger portion of my audience. So many of you may be satisfied and didn't even know this was happening. But a lot of casual players seem pretty happy. Now, I will say there might be a little bit of bias in that reaction because of the front-loaded nature of the rewards track. It may not be clear to people who aren't as well-read or researched into the system right now, or haven't broken down the math, that the rewards are going to slow down over time. They might be thinking that this week, where everything's really, really happening really fast, and you're getting a ton of stuff, is the normal, as opposed to the exception to the rewards track rule. So we'll have to monitor the kind of reactions of people over time. They may become less satisfied when they have to wait a week to get the rewards because they just don't play enough. But for now, there are still a lot of kind of core elements of the progression system and rewards track that people like. Number one of which is that people who were not particularly focused on constructed Hearthstone seem like mostly they're happy with the ability to gain XP no matter what game mode they're in, minus duels right now, which I think has been bugged. But for instance, with like Battlegrounds players, in the past, it was really, really hard to get gold out of Battlegrounds. So, doing things like buying the Battlegrounds pass with gold was difficult for a lot of players because you didn't get much gold out of Battlegrounds. Now that you're getting XP just by playing Battlegrounds, you're going to be unlocking quite a few steps on the rewards track just by playing Battlegrounds. You're going to get a lot more gold. So if you're somebody who focuses on other game modes, I think in general, this is a pretty big win for you. It's the people who are really like free-to-play grinders in ranked constructed in particular that feel most ripped off. And then there are a lot of Battlegrounds players who feel like they're actually getting, a bone tossed to them basically with this new progression system. And that's great. There are, I guess, still some quests Particularly, I think the weekly quest that is maybe always going to be win 7 games of ranked, which doesn't appear to be re-rollable. They're going to have to either sacrifice that experience, which is a big chunk of weekly experience, or they're going to have to go into ranked constructed. So that's a bit unfortunate that there's no way to re-roll that particular quest. I'm not sure why that was. I guess Blizzard ultimately still wants to funnel you into ranked play and your collection at some level, even if you're a Battlegrounds player. So, that's not perfect, but ultimately it still sounds like a net win. Could be better, but a net win for Battlegrounds and maybe non-constructed players. Another big positive people are reporting is that it feels good to have some visual sense of progression. Being able to see what you're playing towards and understanding it, having that, marker along the way to recognize how far you've come and have some goals and targets can encourage you to play a fair bit. So knowing you got a cool hero portrait or some big gold bomb coming can be pretty nice for people to see. And I too like the just kind of, the look and feel of the rewards track, just scrolling through there, seeing all the stuff I got coming my way does indeed feel fairly nice. Also, achievements also give you a sense of progression historically, which I think people really appreciate. Being able to look back and see things they've done or play towards specific goals can feel pretty good. Another thing people seem to like, another positive, is for casuals in particular, and we already touched on this a little bit, but the fact that the system is so front-loaded means that the kind of distance or gap between casual and maybe average players is reduced a little bit. So people who aren't putting in as much time can still get, the meat of the rewards, or essentially the meat of the efficiency of the rewards, as quickly as other people. Although rewards do ramp up throughout the rewards track, it still seems like the earliest levels might be your most efficient. And that means casual players still get a lot of stuff early on, which is nice and a good feeling. And, you don't have to play every single day for hours and hours to get something out of the system. So whereas they, really dedicated players lose out on that, daily gold win bonuses, casual players weren't getting that anyways. That's not a loss to them. So it seems like they have a net gain overall in the system. And again, although we don't see it necessarily even on YouTube or Twitch or Reddit, there is a very, very large silent majority of Hearthstone players who we never hear from, who don't know Twitch exists, let alone, watching idiots like me, who are probably loving the rewards track because they play twice a week. They get some awesome packs. They may not even get to level 20 throughout the course of an expansion, but that's fine because they're getting a ton of rewards along the way. Whereas in the past, they wouldn't have gotten much at all. So I think those are the big key points. I probably missed something, honestly. I tried to kind of long table method, read through your comments and arrange, core arguments and elements together. But who knows? I probably missed something. So that said, leave some comments below with additional thoughts. Of course, you guys have already been doing that on all my other videos. The Twitter thread, obviously, that you're still probably looking at. Continue to share anything you need to get it off your, get some anger out if you're mad about it, etc. If you're positive about it, hey, feel free to share that too. That's certainly okay. That said, let me share my take. It's time for the Regis take. I know you've all just been waiting impatiently. Couldn't wait to hear what I had to say about all this nonsense. Well, it's very simple. It's basically the same thing I've been saying for 5 years. It hasn't changed. I think Hearthstone is way too expensive. I think Hearthstone's always been a really expensive game that I wish were cheaper. That's somewhat selfish because I want more people playing the game to watch me play the game. But I just also want more people enjoying the Hearthstone. I think the content of Hearthstone is awesome. I have so much fun playing Hearthstone. I have for 5 years. I still am not sick of the game. I want people to play it. I want them to be excited about it. I want them having as much fun as possible. I want them telling their friends about it and getting their friends to play Hearthstone. And right now, the game is too expensive for any of us to recommend it to anybody in good conscience. So we don't grow as much as we could, or we don't bring players back as much as we could. And that makes me sad. I want more people to play Hearthstone. I like the sort of structure of it. I like the visual progression. I love the achievements a lot, actually. Everything except the fact that it didn't make the game cheaper is great for me. I think it's a home run in execution, except for the economy aspects. If the economy was better, if it gave way more gold, if it made the game significantly cheaper for people, if it encouraged more people to play, then that would be a home run. As it stands right now, it's a pretty cool system that is unfortunately gonna get a lot of hate because it didn't make the game cheaper. It may even be a step backwards, it seems, for, it's a portion of the player base. That's the real problem for most people. That sucks, but it's not even my problem. My problem is that it didn't go the other way enough. It needed to be way more. We needed to be excited about it and hopeful about it. And we want the game to be bigger and better. And I just don't think this achieves that. So to boil it all down to one very simple question and answer. Did Hearthstone get cheaper? No. All that said, look forward to hearing what you guys have to say about this one. Thanks so much, as always, for watching. And until next time, game on.